Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 16th of September. Fine weather we're having. Nights are getting a little cool, but it's about 20 degrees during the day, so that's always good. And welcome back to another weather forecast. I'm sorry, no, of course not. It's another Drago Dog Walk Talks. Drago, come here. Drago, иди сюда. Ко мне, рядом. No. See how content he is? Just give him something, 'cause he likes to eat, and all's good with the world. Unfortunately, we humans, we don't quite function like that. We tend to make things complicated. And sometimes very, very funny. Yes, I am back in my Star Trek outfit, cosplaying Star Trek. No, that's not the Federation sign. Which I guess is bad, because if you're in red, the guys in red tend to be the ones that get killed off, as far as at least old Star Trek went. Anyways, I guess I could actually pass for a Star Trek uniform. Starship's insanity that we're all floating on, this big round starship. So let's get on to the drones, because now apparently drones have appeared over Romania also, where they scramble fighters and Patriot systems. And the funny part is, those drones, the ones that went in Poland, so one fell on its own accord, and the others apparently got shot down. Of course, it's hard to tell how many drones there were, because there's anywhere between, 4, 5, 19, 20, 50, a million. So these drones, first of all, the drones that were flying, they don't have warheads. They don't have cameras, right? These are decoy drones. They're used to flush out enemy anti-aircraft systems, AA guns, or in this case, AA missile systems. So when the drones are flying, the enemy, they'll move their anti-aircraft systems around at night and so on. And the Ukrainians have a big tendency of putting those systems in around civilian buildings to draw fire on civilians, and then they can claim that, look, how many people got killed because, the Russians just evil, or by just bombing the hospital or the school or whatever. Never mind, we put the anti-aircraft system right on top of that school, because their own people are just meat for them and their propaganda organs. That's the level of care they have for their children, for their women. Well, no, their own children, of course, they defend, and they just move them out of the country. As far as the little people are just what you can buy in exchange for their lives, whether it's headlines or just straight out money. That's all that matters. That's the type of regime America is sponsoring with its taxpayers' money, by the way. So you get what you get. So these drones, they go out first, because they'll spoof the radar systems. The Ukrainians will fire on them, and then the second wave of drones already has a list of targets that they can zero in on, and those are the second wave of drones are the ones that actually have warheads on them. And they go in and destroy the launchers and destroy the radar systems and control points, which are all usually placed separate from each other. Placed separate enough that taking out one doesn't take out everything. That's how usually modern missile-based anti-aircraft systems work. So these drones, once they're done, they just fall. Once their fuel tanks are empty, they just collapse wherever. And they can be picked up, obviously. There's even been reports of smugglers using these drones, picking them up, using these drones to move goods across borders. So yeah, there's that. They're all over the place. So some of the pictures that came out of some of these drones, one of them that fell on a roof, I guess fell of its own accord, is duct taped together. That's right. They come off the assembly points in Russia. Now, the bad part is you could actually probably sell that as propaganda. I'm surprised that they just haven't tried to sell that as propaganda. Oh yeah, the Russians are so inept, they have to duct tape their drones together. I'm amazed that brave, intelligent, and genius level Kaya Kallas and Wander layabout isn't pushing that propaganda angle yet, that the Russian drones are just all duct taped. But anyways, So these drones, yeah, and the house that was supposedly damaged, there was an article in the Polish press that said that house was actually damaged a year ago, basically by a tornado or a very high wind storm, and it was being repaired. So no, the drone didn't cause any of it. And if you look at the house, yeah, I mean, it didn't get blown up. It's got new rafters on there, and they're rebuilding the wall with foam concrete blocks. So yeah, so there's that. But the interesting thing is, you know, there's a dichotomy. I'm going to have to ask some of my Polish contacts about between the presidency and the prime ministership, because they're going in two different directions, obviously. And Tusk, the animal of von der Leyen that he is, he pushed to bring up a condemnation of Russia in the UN for this. I mean, obviously these drones that have a range of 700 kilometers didn't fly 1,200 kilometers. And the Belarusians, it turns out, warned the Polish Ministry of Defense that there were drones heading their way. And these drones were Ukrainian drones. So, and then the Russian Ministry of Defense contacted the Polish Ministry of Defense and said, hey, let's get together and talk about this, because we can show you this is BS. And we can discuss this issue. Now, the Ukrainians, again, trying to pull Poland into a major war as they lose theirs. So there's that moment. And yeah, so they pulled a vote in, and for the amendment condemning Russia voted about 40 countries out of over 190. So about, yeah, there's over 190 countries in this world. Go figure out all of our problems there. So there's about 40 countries, America and its vassals, that voted for, and the rest either abstained or voted against. So it basically got laughed out of the UN. So big PR loss right there. Stupid move. But hey, some people learn on stupid moves. Others become Euro politicians. Well, after stupid moves, they actually just get promoted. They fail upwards is what we used to call that. You know, to higher and better positions, they can fail even more. Because a little failure is not enough. You got to do big failures, big failures. Otherwise, you know, what do you got to live for? Definitely isn't successes. So there's that issue. One more attempt by the Ukrainians. At least this attempt didn't kill 2 Poles like the previous attempt to draw Poland into a war that would kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Poles. But hey, we move along. So the Ukrainians have suddenly figured out that eastern Zaporozhye, the offensive there, is now the big offensives, and they're rushing troops in from other portions of the line to try to stop the Russian push there, even as they aren't really succeeding in stopping the Russian push in Pokrovsk. They've slowed it down quite a bit, but Pokrovsk is technically encircled. That means that whatever areas are not in Russian control are under Russian fire, be that artillery, direct line of fire, or like, for example, from anti-tank missiles, or aviation and drone coverage. So basically it's cut off. Very little gets in, very little gets out. Kupiansk, fighting is in the middle. And yes, third pipeline operation. You know, first one was a startling case. Okay, I'll grant that, surprise. Second one, you're gonna go, yeah, guys, you kind of missed something. I mean, I'm glad they missed it, obviously. I'm Russian. I want our side to win, and minimal, if any, and no casualties, and maximum casualties for the enemy. But you gotta start wondering when the third time they've pulled the same stunt. And apparently the Ukrainians kind of half-assed try to block one of those pipelines by putting some concertina wire down there. At least that's one report that came out. I don't know if that's even true. And then they removed the concertina wire, kept going. You know, they travel for 4 days on their knees, basically. I mean, try that. I know my knees after airborne and after being a tanker, jumping up those tanks. My knees would not handle 4 days. They wouldn't handle 1 day. I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to straighten out after that. You're talking about pipes that are a little more like 1.20 meters in diameter. Maybe a little more. You can go on your knees walking forward, but you can't stand up in them unless you're really, really short. So if you got a brigade of midgets that you can send in there, combat brigade, you're golden. Maybe we can do that. But with average sized people or higher, yeah, you got issues. So 4 days of slow travel, I think 4 or 5 kilometers in, and they pop up, whack-a-mole the Ukrainians, and surprise! And yeah, you know what? The third time your leadership falls for the same damn thing, you know you're led by absolute morons. Where people, and since most of the planning and the ops is done by Western generals who do enjoy patting themselves on the back and telling the world how great they really are, as they prove themselves to be absolute imbeciles. Well, you know, that's what you get when you promote for political views and yes-manship, and not for brinksmanship and actually understanding strategy, which drops us right over. These mosquitoes. Which drops us right over to whom else? But Mr. Kellogg. Mr. My daughter makes money off of dead Americans or wounded American Nazi mercs fighting in Ukraine, because that's exactly what his daughter's NGO makes their money off of. So, of course, they want this war to continue, and they need more Americans to go over there and get themselves whacked so they can make some more money. You hear me there? Yeah, if you know some idiots that need to get whacked, go tell them to go to Ukraine so Mr. Kellogg's family can make some more money off of it. Because he's not obviously making enough off of his 4-star generalship. Never mind, yeah, his pension and everything else, plus what he gets paid for showing up on television, and they don't get paid small amounts for that. But, you know, his daughter's got to earn too. So get some more Americans over there, get them killed as fast as possible so she can get some more turnover. Yeah. You can't make this crap up. I mean, you really, really cannot make this crap up. It's that friggin' silly. And sad in its own way, of course, but yeah, that's the crap we're dealing with. So Kellogg, now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've been told that Kellogg's phone had previously been cracked, and the reason Kellogg was allowed to travel freely is every time he went to meet different NATO groups and different key command posts, his phone that had been cracked was used as a tracking device to figure out where these places were at. And then after Kellogg left, they got some very unpleasant presents flying in from Russian airspace. So yeah, quite a few NATO dead. Their families can say, thank you, Mr. Kellogg, for your visit. I don't know, again, this is what I've been told. I don't know if it's true. It could possibly be true. I damn well hope it's true. So there's that. As the grind continues, and the grind continues nonstop and will continue nonstop. This is a war of attrition, and the Ukrainians are quite literally running out of, well, they're out of reserves. I mean, they're grabbing people left and right as it is, and the lines is cracking. What people don't understand too is, when you have maneuver warfare, even this limited of a maneuver warfare, now Russia, since March, has liberated 8,000 square kilometers of land. Over the first, from March to August, to the end of August. So I'm not counting September. And the pace is quickening. Just so you understand, the great Ukrainian counteroffensive of 23 that cost the Ukrainians 70 to 80,000 dead, that barely made it to the first line of the 3 lines of defense, because there's always skirmish points ahead. And wire and mine obstacles that now you have to get through first, that are overwatched by artillery. Drago. Сядь. There you go. So, when you're dealing with stuff like that, when you're dealing with stuff like that, that counteroffensive that cost almost about 80,000 dead, took 120 square kilometers. So that's like 12 by 10 kilometer square, right? For those that are still standard process bound, that's like 6 by 7.5 miles. That's all it took, a block. And that only, Drago, nah. And that only cost 80,000 lives. And that was the Great Counteroffensive, hundreds of pieces of destroyed equipment. And even in Kursk, they only took 10%, 10-12% of Kursk province. For all that they tried, because as everybody was screaming, oh, they've gone into Kursk and blah blah. They took a little corner of it, with one major town in it, and that's it, and lots of little villages and crossroads. So, 8,000 square kilometers, 8,000 square kilometers, or 4,800 square miles, approximately. And it's continuing. It's continuing up and down the front, up and down the front. So there's that. And that's how the front's standing still, by moving forward on a daily basis. That's right. That's the Western lies for you. The front standing still by moving forward. But there's another thing here that... Drago. There's another thing here that's going on. There's another play. There's a long play. And this is called realpolitik. And yes, it costs Russian lives. It does. But one of the reasons you want to keep this war going, as I mentioned, one reason before is you kill off everybody that's going to want to do a guerrilla warfare on you later. Because they're either dead at the front or they're invalids. And the ones that are left alive are the ones that didn't want to fight and are thankful that they're still left alive. So all the hoorah, brainwashed by Western media, super patriot and Nazis, they're pretty much dead, or they're running across the border. So that's one part. But there's another part, a long game against the West. Because the pressure that this is all creating inside Western society, it's bubbling up now, that's breaking out everywhere. You can see what's happening. I mean, Saturday, the Times declared it 100,000 people. But if you look at their own their own drone images, that wasn't 100,000 people. There was at least 1 million, if not more. They came out in London. I mean, you're talking a massive crowd, 1 million plus people. I mean, think about it. How big of a crowd that is. I mean, really how big of a crowd that is. 1 million plus people came out and protest against the English government. Of course, the English government doesn't really give a damn what the people care about. If they did, they wouldn't be doing half the policies that they're doing now. Wouldn't be doing any of the policies that they're doing now. But that's a pretty good movement, because one thing is going to show the English people. I mean, I don't expect just from these demonstrations anything to change. Not with the corrupt bastards that are sitting in the English government. But one of the things it's going to show is to the conservative English public, the ones that may have not gotten the message that this ain't going to get over with anytime by peacefully voting or by peaceful protest, is that peaceful protest is pointless. Voting is pointless. When you're dealing with a government and a set of globalist elites that just don't give a damn about you, your kids, or whomever. And I'm more than happy just to have you all replaced. Then we look at France. That's Paris is burning because Macron is on his seventh prime minister. And pretty soon he'll just be ruling by decree. See, Macron needs to finish out his term to 27, and then he's going to become head of, the little Napoleon's going to grow a slightly bigger pair of breeches, and he and his mama, big mama, or old mama, are going to be moving over to Brussels, where he can speak English constantly and rule all of the EU. At least that's the plan for him. That definitely seems to be the plan for him. So are you ready to really be ruled by Macron? It says it's going to be Macron of France. It'll be Macron of Europe, the emperor per se of all of Europe, minus the Russian 1/4 of Europe, of course, and a small bit of England. But yes, the majority of Europe. Aren't you going to be thrilled? Aren't you going to be lucky? You're going to have the likes of Macron to look out for you and your children in their 15-minute cities, your electronic money, and your extra booster shots. As you're disarmed, bred into some kind of, I don't know, some kind of historyless, cultureless blob of humanity, workers and consumers. My God, the worst of the Soviet Union couldn't, the worst of the Bolshevik Marxists couldn't come up with anything even close to this. They actually looked at it as trying to benefit and raise the level of the worker. Particularly at first, they did a pretty assed up job of it, but they tried. At least they had good intentions. These people have no good intentions. The only good intentions for them and their close-knit community. And you're not part of it, or anywhere near it. If you're lucky, you'll get to serve it, either as an educated thrall or as just labor on the farm, on the plantation. I mean, that's the reality of it, if you haven't figured it out yet. Your lifestyle is out of inventory and cannot be replaced. So much for the lifestyle you've ordered is out, and we have no replacements for it. So there you go for that. So there's that long game, the very long game. Germany, 250,000 jobs in heavy industry gone. You can figure out another 500,000 jobs in that ripple effect gone. And it doesn't get any better anywhere. Meanwhile, Italy, Meloni is opening the gates even more for immigrants or refugees or takeover people. And if you look at it realistically, what you notice in all of these governments is the liberals, and the U.S. is the same way. The liberals create the institutions, these radicalized institutions. The conservatives come in, tweak them a little bit, and then empower them. Under every conservative government, or so-called conservative government anyways, in the West, immigration has skyrocketed. Flat out skyrocketed. And there's no exceptions that I know of. So there's that. Even though they all come in on platforms of controlling immigration, controlling traditional values, and defending the actual aborigines of those countries, that is the actual people that were there, not the migrants that came in and get everything handed to them, and they don't have to even work. So yeah, there's migrant heaven for you right there. So there's this moment where you start to realize that either opposition party isn't going to get you anywhere. And you can look at the Republican Party in the U.S. as the same way. They haven't canceled a single program of the Democrats. They've tweaked them to get them to work better, at least as designed. Not necessarily work better for the people, but to work better for the way they were designed to work. But other than that, they haven't canceled a single program ever. They talk about it, of course, that's their platforms usually, but nothing gets past those platforms. So there's that. Trump, we know Trump issued I don't know what the hell he issued. You know, there's very different views on what he issued about, we're ready to go into total economic war against the Russians. Okay, yeah, whatever. But first, Europeans have to go in total economic war against the Russians. Oh, and everybody else. Meanwhile, the U.S. does continue to import materials from Russia, and the U.S. continues to import materials from China. And there's, even with all the talks, there's actual trade talks going on right now with China, or were going on. They may have been closed out already. As Trump is telling the Europeans to cut all ties with everybody in China and in India. And to make things worse, just to snub the Western nose just a little bit more. Drago. That's great. Just to snub the Western nose a little bit more. So we got this war games, Vostok, West. East, what am I saying? Vostok. Going on between Russia and Belarus. In Belarus. And NATO's all, paranoid because, the Russians could invade from that. Well, that's the Western approach. We'll do a war gaming and then we'll invade right off the bat, right off the march. Russians don't tend to do it like that. Drago, gamanis. So there's this moment where India, as it was declared, I think by the Time magazine, India crossed the red line. I don't know if the Indians knew there was a red line, but they went across it. They sent 65 officers, 65. So this is more than just observation. This is like, hey, how can we join the next one? They sent 65 officers to, to participate in these war games at a staff level. So yes, there you go, Mr. Trump, with all your due respect, what the Indians think of your threats and think of your sanctions. Bye-bye. 65 officers. Next time maybe it'll be 650. Who knows? Maybe 1,000. Who knows where this could lead to? But nowhere good for the empire of lies and its vassals. Because the global south and the global east is basically telling them to go, you know where you can go shove it at this point. And no, of course, nobody in Washington is, Drago, nobody in Washington is thrilled with that. They're all very, very upset because they see their influence collapsing. Even as they nuke another speedboat or some boat outside of Venezuela, took out 3 people this time. Well, at least, with 3 people on board, you could actually say that they were carrying drugs. Whether or not they were carrying drugs is anybody's guess, because it was destroyed, or they're just somebody going for a pleasure cruise. But we had 11 guys in one boat, 11 people. I don't know how many of them were women or not. There's not much room for drugs. There's big drug smugglers. Either way, that's murder. You don't know if they're guilty or not guilty. Maybe they have information on them. That's not been disclosed. All that's been disclosed is Trump going, hoorah, Team America, we blew up another boat with a missile. Another unarmed boat. Or if it was armed, it might have been light arms. But again, we don't know. We don't know because it was sunk and burnt, just blown up. People were killed, and that's the end of that. So who, what, or where? We don't know. Just like we don't know where the membership of my channel can go. So by all means, please hit like, hit subscribe. If you want to support my work, by all means. I've got, right now I've only got the crypto wallet. I'm trying to set up something else. There's also Patreon that I have for an old American bank account that I never closed out. But you can support me there, and let's see where we can get the membership going. I think we'll get quite a few. We're almost up to 15,000. So let's make it 20. So, and I thank you for all the support. So what else have we got? What else have we got in the silly world that is today's politics? Well, you've heard my opinion on Kirk, on the murder. Whether I think it may have been a deep state Mossad thing. These guys. First of all, I'll tell you, and I've said this before. Kevin McAleese, who was a contractor for DOD and for CIA. They used computer systems to control and contort public opinion, shape public opinion on certain issues, like, for example, in Ukraine. I got an interview with him. If you go back, all the way back, you'll see an interview between me and Kevin where he describes how they used the systems. They used bots, million-plus bots. So they created whole ecosystems. But what he's told me, and he told me on that interview, well, his group, of course, didn't do this. And he lives in Russia now, so he's out of the hands of the West. While his group didn't do this, he knew of groups that were grooming, on the internet, grooming shooters. So, of course, no, I'm not claiming that all the mass shootings in the U.S. these days, a couple every week, are made by these people. That I'm not, of course, claiming. But he said, they groomed these shooters, and when they needed to, they'd push them to go do something. So people that suddenly out of nowhere show up and commit some kind of crime like this at a key junction when they need a martyr, or they need to stop somebody from going in the wrong direction, like Kirk was going against Israel, and against this war in Ukraine that America has admitted to is a proxy war they'd take them out and make them into a martyr. And then once you're dead, you know, they'll spin whatever lies they want about you and what you stood for, which we see right now. And by the way, the memorial service for Kirk, at least the news is coming out. I don't know if I'm not correct, please correct me. It seems Trump skipped it and went play golf. So, you know, I guess they squeezed what they could out of Kirk, and after that, yeah, there's other things to do, like play golf. Poor guy. His wife, 2 kids, heart goes out to him. Nothing goes out to everybody, you know. And yes, people will say, well, there's thousands of people dying every day from the actions of the empire and things like that. And absolutely true. There is no minimizing that. But you get that occasional person that does so enough that hits the right nerves. And when he's taken out, in his name and his face, you see all the victims of the empire of lies, the satanic empire that we're all dealing with in one way or another. You see everything that's wrong. It's characterized in his face, and the suffering that his family goes through is just a mirror of the suffering that millions of other people are going through. That's what you get, the martyr. And he was a martyr. Let's be honest. He was a martyr against the globalist cause. The globalists may have killed him, maybe not. I don't have positive proof either way. But he died for what he believed, while practicing what he believed. And that is a definition of a martyr. He died for the cause, for his cause, which is, by the way, it was a good cause. Dialogue and peace. You know, and conservative values, conservative Christianity, which, you know, God is Lord Jesus is my king. I'll declare it. I'm not afraid of that. If it costs me my life, I don't care. I'm not going to back off of that. And there it is. And that's what he stood for, and that's what he declared. And family, conservative values. You know, if somebody doesn't like that, okay. You don't like that hearing from me, okay. Go find somebody who says things that are more agreeable to you, who has views more agreeable to you. I'm not condemning you for that. You don't agree with me, don't agree with me. But the problem is these people, a lot of them, they can't take it. They can't take somebody not agreeing with them. And if you're not agreeing with me, you must be evil, and I must destroy you, which is the mentality a lot of these people have. And it's interesting watching a lot of these guys that were making the videos of laughing at Kirk's death and this and that are getting fired in the West, particularly in America. It's very easy to fire people, partially because they were doing it, and they're morons. I mean, seriously, partially because they were doing it. A lot of them were doing it on work time. It's right off the bat, you know. Why weren't you working? Why were you making these damn videos? And two, when you're especially in a higher level position and you're representing some firm, I mean, is that the face that the firm wants to have? No, of course not. That they are so emotionally driven that they can't even think of what consequences their actions could carry. Well, that tells you quite a bit right there about those people and how mature they really are. They're not. Блин, Drago, stój. So anyways, yeah, I got a splinter in my foot. Didn't lose faith, didn't lose consciousness. Kept on going. That was a splinter. It was a big splinter, but it was a splinter. Went through my side of my sandal, interestingly enough. So anyways, so that's that. I won't keep you any longer. This has been longer than usual. God bless, and we'll keep going. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, support. God bless.